Welcome back everyone, and thank you for joining me today. If you love hidden treasures, unbelievable stories, and the idea that an ordinary coin in your pocket could change your life forever, then you are absolutely in the right place. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and mysterious stories in American coin history, the Liberty 1 cent 1973 USA coin. At first glance, it looks like just another penny, something most people wouldn't even bother picking up from the ground. But under the right conditions, with the right errors, mistakes, and rare mint mark possibilities, this humble 1-cent coin has been linked to jaw-dropping values that go far beyond imagination, with stories and collector speculation pushing its worth as high as $218 million. This isn't just a story about money, it's a story about history, chance, human error, and the incredible world of coin collecting where the smallest details can create massive fortunes. Most people think of a penny as the lowest form of currency, something that barely buys anything and often ends up forgotten in drawers or jars. The 1973 Liberty 1-cent coin entered circulation during a time when the United States was going through major economic and cultural changes. Inflation was rising, metal prices were fluctuating, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure to produce massive quantities of coins quickly and efficiently. When speed, volume, and human involvement collide, mistakes become inevitable. These mistakes are exactly where the magic begins for collectors. The Liberty 1 cent 1973 coin is part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Millions upon millions of these coins were produced, and the vast majority are worth only their face value today. However, collectors know that rarity is not always about how many coins were made, but about how many coins survived with specific characteristics that should never have existed. Errors, die mistakes, metal composition issues, off-center strikes, doubled designs, missing mint marks, and even experimental planchets all play a role in transforming an ordinary penny into a legendary artifact. One of the most talked about aspects of the 1973 Liberty 1 cent is the possibility of striking errors related to planchets. A planchet is the blank metal disc that becomes a coin when struck by the dies. In 1973, the U.S. Mint was still using copper-based compositions for pennies, but the early 1970s were a period of experimentation and transition. There were discussions, tests, and internal trials involving alternative metals due to rising copper costs. If even a tiny number of 1973 pennies were struck on the wrong planchets, such as bronze blanks from earlier years, foreign planchets, or experimental metal compositions, those coins would instantly become legendary. A confirmed wrong metal strike from this year could reach values that most people would never believe, especially if it were unique or one of only a few known examples. Another major source of value comes from double die errors. These occur when the die used to strike the coin receives a misaligned impression during its creation. The result is doubling that appears on the coin itself, often visible in the date, the word Liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." While minor doubling is fairly common and usually not valuable, strong double die errors are extremely rare and highly desirable. A dramatic double die on a 1973 Liberty 1 cent, especially one that went unnoticed for decades, could become one of the most important modern era coins ever discovered. Collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums for coins that clearly show bold, unmistakable doubling across key design elements. Off-center strikes are another area where the 1973 penny becomes fascinating. An off-center strike happens when the planchet is not properly aligned between the dies at the moment of striking. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, parts of the design may be missing while others remain sharply detailed. The most valuable off-center strikes are those that still show the full date while missing a significant portion of the design. A dramatic off-center 1973 Liberty 1 cent with a visible date could command huge interest, especially if it is well preserved and visually striking. Coins like these are physical evidence of mechanical mishaps inside the minting process, frozen in metal forever. Then there are broad strike errors, which occur when a coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally shapes the edge. This causes the coin to spread out, becoming wider and thinner than normal, often with a distorted appearance. A 1973 broad strike penny, especially one with crisp details and unusual characteristics, can be extremely valuable. The more dramatic and unusual the error, the more collectors are drawn to it. In some cases, broad strikes combined with other errors, such as double strikes or rotated dies, create one-of-a-kind pieces that defy easy classification. Mint mark errors also play a crucial role in the story of the 1973 Liberty 1 cent. In 1973, pennies were primarily produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Philadelphia coins typically do not have a mint mark, while Denver coins carry a small d. Errors involving mint marks can include missing mint marks, misplaced mint marks, or even doubled mint marks. A 1973 D penny missing its D mint mark due to a filled or damaged die could be extremely rare, especially if the error is clearly visible and verified. On the other hand, a coin showing a double D mint mark would also attract massive attention from collectors. One of the most intriguing possibilities is the existence of mule coins. A mule coin is created when mismatched dies are used together, such as an obverse die from one year paired with a reverse die from another year or design. If a 1973 Liberty 1 cent were somehow struck with a reverse die not intended for that year, or even a foreign or experimental reverse, it would instantly become one of the most important discoveries in U.S. numismatics. Mule coins are incredibly rare, and when they surface, they often make headlines and fetch prices that seem unreal to the average person. Die cracks, die breaks, and cuds also contribute to the value narrative. As dies wear out from striking hundreds of thousands of coins, they can develop cracks or breaks that transfer onto the coins themselves. While minor die cracks are common, large, dramatic breaks that create raised blobs of metal known as cuds are much rarer. A 1973 penny with a massive cud affecting Lincoln's portrait or the lettering could be worth a significant amount, especially if the cud is visually impressive and clearly the result of a major die failure. Another layer of fascination comes from strike-through errors. These occur when foreign materials such as grease, cloth fibers, or metal shavings get trapped between the die and the planchet during striking. The result is a coin with missing or distorted design elements where the material blocked the strike. Strike-through errors are unique because no two are exactly alike. A 1973 Liberty 1 cent with a dramatic strike-through that leaves Lincoln's face partially missing or distorted would be an extraordinary find and highly prized by error collectors. The condition of the coin cannot be ignored when discussing extreme values. While many error coins are valuable even in worn condition, the most mind-blowing prices are usually associated with coins that are preserved in near-perfect or mint-state condition. A 1973 error penny that somehow escaped circulation and remained pristine for decades would be a dream come true for collectors. Sharp details, original luster, and minimal handling marks all contribute to skyrocketing value. The idea of a 1973 Liberty 1 cent being worth $218 million may sound unbelievable, and for most examples, it absolutely is. However, in the world of high-end coin collecting, value is driven not just by metal or age, but by uniqueness, story, and demand. If a single coin were discovered that combined multiple major errors, such as a wrong metal planchet, dramatic double die, missing or incorrect mint mark, and exceptional condition, it could become a once-in-a-lifetime piece. Wealthy collectors and institutions compete fiercely for the rarest coins, and when something truly unprecedented appears, traditional price limits no longer apply. There is also the psychological aspect of collecting that pushes prices to extraordinary heights. Owning the only known example of a particular error gives a collector something no one else in the world can have. That exclusivity can drive bidding wars at auctions, where prices climb far beyond initial estimates. In such environments, a coin's value becomes whatever someone is willing to pay, and history has shown that collectors are capable of paying astonishing amounts for the right piece. Stories surrounding lost or undiscovered treasures add fuel to the fire. Many collectors believe that the most valuable coins have not yet been found. They could be sitting in old jars, forgotten collections, or even still circulating unnoticed. The idea that a 1973 Liberty 1 cent with a legendary error could be hiding in plain sight keeps people searching, examining every penny with new eyes. This sense of possibility is what makes coin collecting so addictive and exciting. The economic context of the early 1970s also adds depth to the story. Rising inflation, changes in minting technology, and shifts in material costs created a perfect storm for unusual errors. Mint employees were human, machines were imperfect, and quality control was not always flawless. Each mistake that slipped through represents a moment in history where something went wrong in just the right way. Collectors often rely on professional grade. My dears, whether you are a lifelong coin collector, someone who recently discovered an old penny in a drawer, or simply curious about how a simple 1-cent coin could ever be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, you are in exactly the right place. Now we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and mysterious stories in American numismatics, the Liberty 1-cent 1975 USA coin, a humble penny with a face value of just 1 cent that, under extraordinary circumstances, has been linked to an astonishing valuation of $326.5 million. This is not just a story about money, but about history, human error, rarity, chance, and the incredible journey that turns an everyday object into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. At first glance, the 1975 Liberty 1 cent looks ordinary. Millions of Americans have handled similar pennies without giving them a second thought. Copper-colored, small, and often overlooked, the Lincoln cent from 1975 blends easily into jars, pockets, and coin rolls. Yet within this vast sea of nearly identical coins, there exists the possibility of something truly exceptional. The difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth hundreds of millions lies not in its size or face value, but in the tiniest details, errors, and anomalies that occurred during its creation. These mistakes, often invisible to the untrained eye, can elevate a simple penny into legendary status. To understand why the 1975 Liberty 1 cent can be so valuable, we must first understand the environment in which it was made. In 1975, the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies each year. The Denver Mint, indicated by the D Mint mark on the coin, was operating at high speed to meet demand. When production numbers are this high, precision is essential, but perfection is nearly impossible. Coins are struck by massive presses that operate relentlessly, day and night. Metal planchets are fed into machines, struck by dies, and ejected at incredible speed. Under such conditions, mistakes are inevitable. Most errors are caught and destroyed before the coins leave the mint. However, some errors slip through quality control and enter circulation. These escaped mistakes are where the magic begins. A coin with a rare and dramatic error is no longer just money, it becomes a unique artifact. Collectors are driven by rarity, and when an error is rare enough, its value can skyrocket beyond imagination. The 1975 Liberty 1 cent is especially intriguing because it sits at the intersection of high mintage and unexpected anomalies. During this period, the mint was transitioning through changes in metal composition, die preparation techniques, and quality control standards. While the cent was primarily composed of copper during this era, variations in planchet preparation and striking pressure created opportunities for unusual outcomes. These anomalies are the foundation of the extraordinary valuations associated with this coin. One of the most important factors behind the extreme value attributed to certain 1975 pennies is the presence of major mint errors. A mint error is not the same as damage that occurs after a coin enters circulation. Scratches, dents, and wear from everyday use do not add value. In fact, they usually reduce it. True mint errors occur during the manufacturing process itself, and they tell a story about what went wrong at the mint on a particular day. Among the most sought-after errors are double die errors. These occur when a die receives more than one impression during its creation, but the impressions are misaligned. When such a die strikes a coin, elements of the design appear doubled. This doubling can be seen in the date, the word Liberty, or other inscriptions. A strong and clearly visible double die error on a 1975 Liberty 1 cent would already be extremely valuable. If such doubling were dramatic, perfectly preserved, and combined with other anomalies, the value could rise exponentially. Another major category of error involves off-metal or wrong planchet strikes. This happens when a coin is struck on a metal planchet intended for a different denomination or composition. For example, if a 1975 cent were struck on a planchet meant for another coin, or on an experimental or transitional metal planchet, it would immediately become one of the rarest coins in existence. The mint tightly controls its metal supplies, so such mistakes are incredibly uncommon. When they do happen and are authenticated, collectors and investors compete fiercely to own them. The idea of a penny being struck on the wrong metal might sound unbelievable, but history has proven that it is possible. Some of the most famous and valuable coins in the world are wrong planchet errors. In the case of the 1975 Liberty 1 cent, a hypothetical strike on an unusual alloy, combined with pristine condition and full documentation, could contribute significantly to a valuation in the hundreds of millions. Another error that drives extreme value is the missing mint mark or malformed mint mark. The Denver mint mark on a 1975 cent should appear clearly below the date. However, due to grease-filled dies, worn punches, or misaligned strikes, the mint mark can appear weak, distorted, or missing altogether. While missing mint marks are more commonly associated with certain years and mints, an unusual and well-documented anomaly involving the D mint mark could make a coin exceptionally desirable. Beyond these well-known errors, there are even more dramatic possibilities. A coin struck with a major die break or cud, where a piece of the die breaks off and leaves a raised blob of metal on the coin, can be extremely rare and visually striking. If such a cud were large, uniquely shaped, and present on a 1975 D cent, it could make the coin one of a kind. Unique coins are the holy grail of collecting, because there is literally nothing else like them. Another possibility is a multi-strike error, where a coin is struck more than once without being properly ejected from the press. This can result in overlapping designs, rotated images, or multiple impressions of the date and inscriptions. Multi-strike errors that are clean, dramatic, and clearly identifiable are among the most prized error coins. When combined with the right year, mint, and condition, they can command extraordinary prices. Condition plays a crucial role in determining value. A coin with even the rarest error will not reach its maximum potential if it is heavily worn or damaged. The coins that achieve legendary valuations are typically in near-perfect or perfect condition. This means sharp details, original luster, and minimal handling marks. A 1975 D Liberty 1 cent with a spectacular error and mint state preservation would be a dream come true for collectors. Authentication is another key element in the story of extreme value. In order for a coin to be considered worth hundreds of millions of dollars, it must be thoroughly examined and authenticated by leading experts. Professional grading services use advanced technology and decades of experience to verify a coin's authenticity, identify its errors, and assign it a grade. Without this certification, even the most extraordinary coin would struggle to achieve its full value. The reason the valuation of $326.5 million is even discussed in connection with the 1975 D Liberty 1 cent lies in the combination of factors rather than a single error. Imagine a scenario where a single coin displays multiple major mint errors at once. Perhaps it is struck on the wrong metal, shows dramatic doubling, has a malformed or missing mint mark, and features a significant die break, all while being preserved in nearly flawless condition. Such a coin would be unprecedented. Its uniqueness alone would place it beyond traditional price guides. In the world of high-end numismatics, value is often driven by competition among elite collectors and institutions. When only one example of a particular coin exists, wealthy collectors may be willing to pay virtually any price to secure it. Coins at this level are not just collectibles, they are investments, status symbols, and historical artifacts. Museums, private collectors, and even investors outside the traditional coin world may compete for ownership. The story of the 1975 D Liberty 1 cent also captures the imagination because it challenges our assumptions about value. We are taught that money has a fixed worth, yet here we see a 1-cent coin potentially valued at hundreds of millions. This contrast is what draws people into coin collecting. It is the idea that something ordinary can become extraordinary through a twist of fate. Many people wonder how such a coin could remain undiscovered. The truth is that rare coins often hide in plain sight. They may sit unnoticed in collections, jars, or old rolls for decades. Sometimes, a coin's true nature is only revealed when someone takes a closer look or decides to have it examined by a professional. History is full of stories where priceless coins were discovered by accident. The 1975 D Liberty 1 cent represents hope for collectors and casual enthusiasts alike. It suggests that treasures may still be out there, waiting to be found. This sense of possibility fuels interest in coin collecting and keeps people searching through their change. Another aspect that adds to the mystique of this coin is the broader historical context of the 1970s. The United States was undergoing economic changes, inflation pressures, and shifts in manufacturing practices. The mint was adapting to these changes while trying to maintain efficiency and quality. These conditions increased the likelihood of unusual errors slipping through.